UFC Vegas 82. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. Really looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on the card. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Also note, I will be live for the entire UFC Vegas 82 fight card Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. And also another side note, it's my birthday during the time of this recording, November 12th. If you don't know my age, guess in the comments down below, because I'm curious what the people are thinking. And let's get into the first fight of the night. We have Lucas Alexander versus Jeka Saragih. I'm picking Lucas Alexander. He was scheduled to fight at UFC Sao Paulo against David Onama, who I thought was a pretty difficult matchup because Onama's like insane power and explosiveness. Whereas I see Saragih as a great matchup for Alexander. It's a fellow striker, but Saragih's fight IQ does not seem to be extraordinarily high. Now, I'm not saying that he can't win fights and he's horrible. He's 13-3. He's 28, the same age as Lucas Alexander. But I think at times he's like overzealous to throw kicks. And I definitely think Lucas Alexander has a more well-versed striking game. I think his punching is better than Saragih's. And I think his leg kicks are also going to be better. Like Saragih might have the more crisp of the like flash stand-up kicks, right? The techniques that would look really good on a bag, but like the likelihood of him catching Lucas Alexander with a spinning wheel kick or a spinning back kick, anything like that, doesn't seem to be that high. I think Saragih is going to struggle with Alexander's accuracy on the feet, and I don't think he's going to be able to go the full three. I think we're getting a Lucas Alexander to start the card off with a knockout. Now, if you look at Saragih as well, he lost to Anshul Jubli, and I say that loss has not aged well since Jubli got knocked out by Mike Breeden in his last fight. But to be fair, Saragih was getting his butt whooped. Nah, I'm not going to say butt whooped. I'm saying ass whooped. We're keeping it, you know what I'm saying, adult breakdown. I think that he is going to lose in the striking here, but Jubli whooped him with the grappling, and like, Jubli don't look to be super solid right now, at least against Money Mike Breeden. Different matchup, yes, I understand, but I had to mention that. Whereas Lucas Alexander last fight, he whooped Steven Peterson's ass, and then the fight before that, he lost to Joanderson Brito by sub, which is really not a bad loss because Brito has nasty jits. They were dry. It was early in the fight, and that was a tough debut for Alexander. Against Saragih, who's going to strike with him, Alexander's going to rip him apart. I'm going Alexander knockout. He is a big favorite. Minus 301 for Alexander, plus 251 for Saragih. He's a 3-1 favorite. It could have been a bit closer, but like I see why it's wide. At open, it was minus 150, so a lot of people are on the Alexander betting side, and that's for good reason. He's the cleaner and crisper striker, and he's going to knock Saragih out. So give me Alexander, the dangerous kickboxer here. He's going to be faster and slicker, and he's knocking Saragih unconscious. Next fight on the card, we have Charles Johnson versus Rafael Estevam. I'm picking Estevam. I feel like with Charles Johnson, he struggles with guys that land takedowns and secure very good top control. Estevam seems to have a very solid jiu-jitsu base, and I think in this fight here, he is going to be consistently attacking takedowns on Charles Johnson, which is going to kind of stifle the effective offense of Johnson's kickboxing skill set. And Johnson also in the kickboxing range is better than in like the close range boxing, and Estevam I think is going to be in his face early. A lot of clinch work, a lot of takedowns, embracing the grind in a very grappling based attack. That's the game plan for Estevam. Yes, Johnson knows. On the other side, Johnson's aware that Estevam is going to look to grapple. Johnson wants to keep it upright on the feet. I'm just worried that he gets put on his back too many times. So I think Estevam secures top position for a lot of the fight. Johnson, I think, has pretty good submission defense. He might be outworked positionally here, but nonetheless, I still think Charles Johnson is a tough out. It's a hard 3 rounds that I'm thinking we're in store for. I'm going to ride with the undefeated Estevam to win against Charles Johnson. The betting odds are even at what, minus 120, minus 110 actually on both sides I'm seeing here. So it's a pick'em's fight between these two. Personally, betting side, I wouldn't be too intrigued by it. So let me bring you reason why. Charles Johnson is the better striker, and if he can stay on his feet, he could out-kickbox Estevam. Johnson has a lot of UFC fights at this point. This is Estevam's debut. The side of Estevam, clearly the better grappler, and historically, Charles Johnson does struggle with guys with solid takedowns and grappling control, and he lacks knockout power. So I'm going to pick Estevam by a decision in this fight here. I think he wins at an even money line. Next fight on the card, we got Chad Anheliger versus Jose Johnson. I'm picking Jose Johnson to win this fight against Chad Anheliger. I feel like decision makes a lot of sense as far as method of victory goes, but Johnson is a good athletic kickboxer. He's long and tall, and he's going to have a crazy height and reach advantage. Look at this. 6 foot Johnson, 5'6" Anheliger. 71.5-inch reach Johnson, 64-inch reach Anheliger. Johnson is going to be ripping him up from the outside, and I don't think Anheliger has the offensive wrestling to give Johnson a substantial threat to even limit the striking onslaught that he's going to be bringing here. Now, Johnson last time out, he lost to Damon Blackshear, first round sub twister. Not a bad loss. Blackshear's a beast of a grappler. And then Jack Cartwright, he was able to win by a convincing decision. And Cartwright was supposed to be the prospect to win on that episode of Contender Series 2 seasons ago now. And Anheliger, Contender Series vet 2. Elatong Haley beat him up last time out. He pulled off a win over Jesse Strader a year and 8 months ago. Not huge. And then he did beat Muin Gaffarov on a split decision. Johnson with a crazy height and reach advantage, and I think he actually has solid scrambles on the ground and good jiu-jitsu. I feel like Anheliger is getting ripped up with shots. It's just about, can Johnson get the knockout? I mean, he's got that sub over Mo Miller, who won on Contender Series. Dulani Perry knocked him out. I believe he was on the Ultimate Fighter, or at least tried out for it. Jack Cartwright win. There's a chance that Johnson finds the chin and puts Anheliger out, but right now Anheliger's durability is looking pretty solid, and I'm going to look at this stat. How many knockout losses? Yeah, 0. Never been KO'd. Johnson's got athleticism and speed, but I don't think of him as a big puncher. Granted, same can be said about Jamal Emmers, who just chinned Bazooka this past Saturday, last night. I'm going to pick Johnson by a decision officially. Johnson is minus 205, the favorite. Very sensible line. Chad Anheliger plus 175. Let's look at the over. Over is minus 150. There is a chance that it goes over. Johnson has okay sub skills. Maybe could submit the short and stocky Anheliger, but look at this, man. 36-year-old, bantamweight, almost 37, 12-6. Johnson, more fights, 8 years younger. Johnson for the W. He's going to get a clear win. It's more going to be about, can he find the finish? I'll see when they open up some props. Maybe, somehow we'll be swayed towards like a submission side or something like that. Now I'm checking Anheliger again. How many sub losses here? 5 sub losses. Holy shit. They're early, though. Yeah, they were early in the fucking run, though. And he went distance with Muin Gaffarov and won. On the live, I'm looking at this, how many wins by sub. 3, 4. I'm still going to stick with decision, but there's submission whispering in my ear right now. But we're going to say decision officially. We'll see throughout the week. Weigh-in recap show. I dropped some prop gems. Maybe sub is one of them. We will see when we get there. Next fight. Good featherweight fight. Jonathan Pearce versus Joanderson Brito. I got to pick Jonathan Pearce to win, but I do recognize Joanderson Brito has a lot of punching power and good jiu-jitsu. I just don't think he can keep up with the wrestling and the overall grappling pace of Jonathan Pearce. Also note, Pearce was scheduled to fight against Bryce Mitchell, who's a tremendous grappler, and I would have been curious to see that matchup. I think that the side of Jonathan Pearce is going to get the win, probably on the cards. I think, especially after the first round, Brito's danger is going to drop significantly. If he's to win this fight, Joanderson Brito, I think it's in the first 5 minutes. He would have to blitz Jonathan Pearce and hurt him on the feet and then maybe club and sub him, or getting to back position towards the cage and locking in a strangle. But I think more likely Jonathan Pearce is ready for a hard 3 rounds. He outpaces Joanderson Brito. He wins in the grappling position, ending up on top for the most part. You look at Brito, he's on a 3-fight win streak. Andre Fili, quick knockout. Lucas Alexander, sub. And Alexander's fighting on this card. Weston Wilson, sub. Kind of weird fight with Weston Wilson, though. And then look at the debut. He lost to Bill Algeo, who's very good. Now, Jonathan Pearce on the other side is on a 5-fight winning streak. Only loss in the UFC is up a weight class to Joe Lozon. And Joe Lozon had the fight of his life that night. Kai Kamaka win, who's now with Bellator. Omar Morales, who turned out to be Christian Rodriguez, who's a decent prospect. Makwan Amirkhani stoppage. Darren Elkins win, who's tough as nails. I think Jonathan Pearce is going to get a decision over Joanderson Brito. His striking's interesting, man. Jonathan Pearce has like pretty good front kicks up the center, and he's athletic on the feet. And I think his stand-up game is definitely developed. But if he's risking it, standing up, looking to exchange with Brito, the knockout power of Brito is legit. He knocked out Andre Fili in 44 seconds. So he has a real puncher's chance in this fight, and nobody's crazy if they're betting the underdog in Brito. I just think Pearce can outwork him. Now, Pearce is a slight favorite at -150. Joanderson Brito, a +130 underdog. Yeah, the over is +135. They're really thinking a finish here. I could see this fight looking somewhat similar to the Algeo fight. Like second and the third round is where Pearce really takes over. Brito's power is definitely devastating, though. And his submission skill set is a legit threat. But I'm going to pick Jonathan Pearce to outwork him. But I'm nervous about this pick. I'll tell you that straight up. Because Brito's a scary Brazilian savage. Let's keep running up the card. Next fight on the card, it's Mick Parkin versus Caio Machado. England just got a heavyweight interim champ with Tom Aspinall on Saturday, so I'm not going to pick against the guy he trains with. It's Mick Parkin. I think he's going to knock out Caio Machado. Machado's striking's okay. He beat Kevin Szaflarski on the Contender Series, and like Szaflarski looks like Marcin Tybura without any of the effective offense. It was just punching bag Szaflarski. He takes a good punch, and he got beat up for 3 rounds. Machado was on him with pressure, throwing big shots. He has a southpaw stance, which is interesting, but Mick Parkin is the better boxer. He's more calculated with his stand-up. He holds his range well. I think he's going to chin Caio Machado on the feet. The hands are going to fly for Mick Parkin, and I think it's going to be an effective style, man. Both guys tall as fuck. 6'4", 6'4", 79-inch reach for Parkin, 78 for Machado. I got to go with the teammate of Tom Aspinall. They're riding high right now, and I think Parkin's going to knock Caio Machado out, and I think it's probably going to be in the first 2 rounds here. I could see it in the first round. I just feel like Machado's chin is like, not that he's chinny. He's not chinny, but I feel like his chin's there to be hit, and Mick Parkin's going to flatten him. Parkin is a -330 favorite with Machado as a +370 underdog. Heavyweights, I think someone's going to bed. Under 2.5 is +105. I think there's a real chance this thing goes under. I'm going Mick Parkin by knockout. One shot changes everything, and I think it's Parkin putting the hands on Machado and KOing him in the first. Could see it in the first 2. Could see it at any point, but I'm picking Parkin first round knockout. I know he didn't knock out Jamal Pogues. Hey, he's developing. That was the debut. It's not like he doesn't show power, man. The first guy to go distance with him, Pogues, and he still beat him up. And then Machado, like I said, he beat Szaflarski, and 3 fights ago, he's fighting Lee Mean in a fucking rematch, and Lee Mean is the father of Jordan Mean, and he's like 48 years old. Mick Parkin by knockout. Next fight on the card, we got ladies going after it. It's Lucie Pudilová versus Ailin Perez. I'm leaning Ailin. I'm picking Ailin Perez to win. She's more athletic. I think she's the better striker of the two. She definitely punches harder, and she's going to be stronger. Like, I feel like she's just a nastier fighter than Lucie Pudilová. She's more scrappy than her. The side of Lucie Pudilová, she has decent straight shots. Doesn't have a ton of pop on them. Okay grappling skill set. Kind of controversial loss in the comeback fight against Jocelyn Edwards, but still, nonetheless, was a loss. Ailin Perez coming off of a dominant win over Ashley Evans Smith. Granted, Smith hadn't fought in like fucking 2 decades, and she was well past her best days. But I still think Ailin Perez is going to beat up Lucie Pudilová. I think she's going to be in her face with punches. I think she's going to be landing hooks on the chin. I think Pudilová is going to shell up a bit. I do think she's eventually going to get taken down. And I think Perez does damage from top. 14-8 versus 8-2. I'm riding with 8-2. I'm riding with Ailin Nurmagomedov Perez. I do think my official call being decision, though, I feel like Perez could stop Pudilová with ground and pound. I can see her in full mount just dropping hammers. So I'm interested in the knockout prop when it drops. Pudilová is a plus 161 dog. Perez minus 186 favorite. I think these are fair lines. The over is minus 275. I expect that over to get juiced, but there's a chance of an under here at plus 215. I do think Perez is a girl that can get a stoppage. I think she could beat her up and knock her out and then ground and I think she could hurt her on the feet, get on top, full mount, ferocious ground and pound. I'm kind of thinking Ailin Perez by knockouts making more sense as I'm talking about this. I think knockout or decision, but for the fun of it, I'm going to go knockout because I want to manifest some violence on this card, and I feel like I'm picking some decisions already. I want a knockout. Perez for the W. I think Pudilová, we'll see what the prop drops at for KO. She's going to outwork her here. She's going to beat her up. Ailin Perez repping the goat shed, and I think she beat up some K1 fighter. I saw it on Instagram in sparring, so she can strike and she can grapple. Next fight on the card, it's Nikolas Motta versus Trey Ogden. Ooh. So I'm going to pick Trey Ogden to win a decision. But Nikolas Motta hits so fucking hard. I definitely think he could find Ogden's chin. And Ogden on the opposite side doesn't have big power. He's like a calculated striker who's pretty patient with his attack and fights well from the mid and long range. I mean, we can't shit on Trey Ogden. He has a win over Daniel Zellhuber, and that W is aging tremendously now because Zellhuber looks like a serious prospect. Nikolas Motta's powerful, stocky, hits really hard. Going to be at a little bit of a height and reach disadvantage, but not substantial. I just don't think he's that great. Besides the big punching power, we got a guy in Motta who's been knocked out a good amount of times. His chin is a huge question mark. Trey Ogden, I think, is technically superior, and I'm going to pick Trey Ogden to win. I got to pick Ogden by decision, though. Even though Motta has been knocked out a good amount of times, I feel like Trey Ogden doesn't have that type of punching power. Now, could he land the counter-strike and get a KO of Motta, especially with Motta's question mark chin? Absolutely. But I just like Trey Ogden, the straight pick, and decision is like his more common method of victory. I'm going to go Ogden for the W. Now, as far as the odds for the fight, Trey Ogden is a plus 120 underdog. Nikolas Motta is a minus 140 favorite. Man, I'll tell you something. I feel like Ogden is definitely a popular dog this week at plus 120. What did he open at? He opened at plus 190. Everybody's touching the line. But I don't see how he's the underdog against Nikolas Motta. Motta has punching power, but he hasn't shown us a ton else at a high level. Ogden, at least I can say he's a calculated striker. He's well-rounded. I'm picking Trey Ogden. I'm going to say he gets a decision over Nikolas Motta in this fight here. And I'm going the dog side. Close money dog nonetheless, but I'm going dog-sided. Next fight is our featured prelim of the night. It's César Almeida versus Christian Leroy Duncan. So I sat on this one for a while, guys. I won't lie to you. And I am consistently flip-flopping on this pick. I actually think this was the hardest pick for me to make on this damn card. And I have it written down in front of me, but like I don't want to say it just yet because I'm processing the pick in this fight. Oh, I'm going to pick Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm going to pick him. But originally I wrote down Almeida to win. But I'm like, is that the kickboxing bias because Alex Pereira just became a two-weight champ? He literally beat a Brazilian fighter that like was unathletic as fuck and didn't seem to be that good on the Contender Series. And like now we're going to pick Almeida over Christian Leroy Duncan, who I was talking so good about before his fight with Armin Petrosian. Now I'm missing a jump ship. I can't. As much as I feel like I almost did, I'm not gonna. I'm going to stick with Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm going to pick him. Think he's the better MMA fighter. But please, Christian Leroy Duncan, if you're watching this, which maybe you are, because I've had UFC fighters tune in before and get pissed when I pick against them. I'm with you here. Please clinch up with this guy. Mix in some grappling. If you just kickbox with the kickboxer, you're definitely susceptible to getting caught with a big counter strike. I know Christian Leroy Duncan has confidence in his striking. He's a pretty good kickboxer in MMA. But César Almeida, has a win over Alex Pereira in kickboxing. Yeah, he lost more than he won against him, absolutely. But nonetheless, he has that win. The dude has a legit kickboxing background, okay? What's the record? Kickboxing record for Leroy Duncan. 47 for fucking Leroy Duncan. No, for Almeida. I wish it was for Leroy Duncan. I'd be a lot more confident in Leroy Duncan if he was 47-8 in professional kickboxing. Cesar Almeida is a dangerous striker, and Leroy Duncan is an athletic and creative MMA striker. But I'm telling you, he has a clear advantage in the clinch grappling. He's the taller guy, 6'2", 79-inch reach. He needs to use the mixed martial arts. Channel a little bit of your countryman, Mark Jacasey, a little inner Mark Jacasey and all the Brits. Wrestle a little bit here. Don't just sit and strike, because Almeida's a dangerous striker. I do think that Almeida's win here over Lucas Fernando was super impressive, and I picked him as an underdog there. But nonetheless, I don't feel like Lucas Fernando is athletic at all, and I think Leroy Duncan is a way better athlete. I think Leroy Duncan is a way more creative and skilled striker than Fernando. And I feel like Leroy Duncan, with his competent striking game, mixing and grappling, can have success, and he's going to win a super hard-fought decision. It's going to be a competitive fight. Now, Cesar Almeida, 4-0, with how kickboxers do in the middleweight division, which at this point, Alex Pereira moving up to light heavyweight, becoming a two-weight UFC champ. I'm going to say this. If Almeida chins him in the first round, second round, whenever, I'm not going to be surprised at all. But I feel like I got to go MMA. I got to go Leroy Duncan. I've believed in the prospect before, and I don't want to jump ship. But you guys can see I'm passionate about this fight. I'm nervous for it. This right here is like the biggest question mark pick of the night for me. Flipping both sides. I'm so passionate about this damn pick, but I'm nervous as hell because I like Leroy Duncan a lot, and I like Cesar Almeida. I don't want to see either of them lose. I'm disappointed we got to put them against one another. But it is what it is. Let me read the odds. The odds for the fight. Almeida, plus 120. Leroy Duncan, minus 140. Listen, I'm not betting on this fight. I will sit here and watch. Not me. If you're on either side, good luck to you. You get plus money on Almeida, who's a great kickboxer. But then you got a close money favorite in Leroy Duncan, who is a really solid MMA prospect. I'm picking Leroy Duncan. I do think he's going to win a decision. I think he's going to get in the clinch. I think he's going to get wrist control. He's going to work for trips. He's going to wear on Almeida a bit. And I think the striking will be fairly competitive too, especially with grappling mixed into the equation. Leroy Duncan mix in some grappling. Leroy Duncan for the win, guys. That's my pick here. Next fight brings us to our main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to it. It's Uros Medic versus Jonny Parsons. I'm picking Uros Medic. I think he is going to whoop Jonny Parsons. Parsons hits hard, and he's tough. He's a brawler. He's a come-forward, in-your-face puncher who's going to throw heavy shots and walk you down. Uros Medic is a calculated and technical kickboxer who's very accurate and definitely has the smoother striking in this fight, especially from the kickboxing range. I think Medic is going to find good shots on the feet here. I think he's going to methodically pick apart the side of Jonny Parsons, and I think we got a win for Uros Medic coming. I'm going to say knockout. I think he's going to chin Jonny Parsons. I know Parsons is tough, but he's been knocked out before. And I think Medic can catch him with a straight shot as Parsons looks to come in hard. I think body kicks are going to be a huge factor in this fight. I got to go with Uros Medic, the doctor. I mean, look at the nickname difference. The doctor and the slug or not. I'm picking the doctor. I think he's going to win 6'1" to 5'9", 2-inch reach advantage, 2 for Medic, 71-inch reach to 69. He moved up to welterweight, being Uros Medic, after some fights at lightweight. And I think it was the best decision he could have ever made because he carries more power, his gas tank is better, and he's way stronger. And I think he's going to beat up Jonny Parsons. He's coming off a win last time out by knockout over Matt Semmelsberger. I got to hold that in high regard. Semmelsberger's a tough out. He's got a win over Jake Matthews, who's in the co-main event of this card. Omar Morales knockout too. I mean, Morales is okay, but you know, still a decent enough striker. And then he lost to Jalen Turner. There's no shame there. Last time, Danny Roberts win for Jonny Parsons. Then Solomon Renfro in Contender Series 2 years ago, split decision. Too close for comfort. I think Uros Medic is knocking him out. Medic KO. As far as the odds, Medic is a minus 235 favorite to Jonny Parsons, a plus 200 dog. I like the chances of Medic knocking him out. Over 1.5, minus 146. The over-under is risky territory here, man. I like Medic straight money line. Looking at the over 1.5, I could see it going over, but I could see Medic catching him earlier. I'm going Medic knockout win over Jonny Parsons in this fight. Next fight on the main card. Ladies going after it. Amanda Ribas versus Luana Pinheiro. Ribas is dropping down to 115 pounds. And let me tell you something. Good decision because she's so young at only 30. She just took a loss up there against Maycee Barber. Before that, she had a win over Viviane Araujo. That's a good win. And then lost to Katlyn Chookagian on a split decision. That's actually a really solid feat to go split decision with Chookagian, who's pretty high level at women's flyweight. I'm picking Amanda Ribas over Luana Pinheiro. I think Pinheiro's a decent fighter. And I feel like her kickboxing is actually pretty solid. She's athletic. Moves kind of like karate-esque with the stand-up, I'll say. Karate hottie fight. That was against Michelle Waterson for Pinheiro. Seems like the masses think that she should have lost that fight on the cards. But nonetheless, it was a competitive fight, went long. And she got awarded the win. Amanda Ribas has a clear grappling advantage, I believe. And I also think she's going to be tricky in the stand-up game for Pinheiro too. So I'm going to pick Amanda Ribas to win. I just have a feeling that she gets a submission here. I could see Ribas dropping down to 115 and putting her name up there now with a real stamp on this W. And that's going to be getting a finish. If Amanda Ribas can finish Luana Pinheiro, her upward potential and trend to, work towards being a top-level contender once again at women's strawweight is going to be way better than if she wins some, damn close decision. Nonetheless, a win is a win. But I think Ribas is live for a finish. I'm going to call Ribas submission. I have a feeling she gets the back over Pinheiro and strangles her up. I'm going Ribas sub. Ribas is a minus 305 favorite. Pinheiro plus 255. I definitely think Ribas is going to win, but minus 305 is juiced up. I mean, Luana Pinheiro is 11-1. That's a real good record. She's a solid fighter. She's a good prospect in the UFC. I just think they're kind of rushing her to Ribas, who's like really skilled. And like, let's look at Amanda Ribas, right? Come on. Verna Jendrudova win. She lost to Marina Rodriguez by TKO. These are her fights recently at women's strawweight. It's been 2 years, but she's had some time. She's gone up and done well. Like I said, Katlyn Chookagian, Araujo win. Maycee Barber lost. No shame in it. And now she takes on a good prospect in Luana Pinheiro. I definitely think she's going to get the W, but a little bit wide. Come on. A little bit wide. I guess you could say, though, Pinheiro has fought literally nobody. Stephanie Frosto, I think that's Zoila Frosto's sister. If you don't know who that is, well, you didn't watch Bellator back in like 2011. And then Honda Marcos, disqualification. That was a weird fight. And then Sam Hughes win, which, it's Sam Hughes. She's tough. And then Michelle Waterson Gomez, the split. I'm going to say Ribas gets a submission. I just don't like seeing 3-1, but like I can kind of understand why. And now I have to double check. Open that minus 140. That makes sense. Open that minus 140. If it's minus 140 and you got in, God bless. Betting it down at minus 140 on Amanda Ribas makes a ton of sense. Betting down at minus 200, absolutely. At 305, I don't like it as much. Nonetheless, I'm picking her to get the win. Amanda Ribas for the W. I think she beats Luana Pinheiro in her comeback fight to women's strawweight in her prime now at 30. Both girls 30, but Amanda Ribas has high-level experience. She'll win. Ribas, I'm going to say by sub, though. I'm going to say she gets a finish. Next fight on the card, bantamweight prospect battle. It's Payton Talbot versus Nick Aguirre. Yeah, I think Payton Talbot is going to knock Nick Aguirre out. I feel like he's going to style on him. I think Payton Talbot has a really good skill set. He's a straight finisher who looks to come for the kill. Last time he fought Reyes Cortez, it's Tracy Cortez's brother, and he's a tough dude. He took a beating, though. Payton Talbot whooped him. And I think the slick striking of Talbot is going to be way too much for Nick Aguirre. I feel like Aguirre has more toughness than actual skill in the stand-up. He's a southpaw, but like he throws slapping shots. I feel like he's a little flat in the stand-up, and like, I don't know. His punches are like rubbery. Like he has like some rubber to it as he's throwing the shots. Like they're not tight, sleek shots. It's not like, yo, that's a striker that I want to punch like. With Payton Talbot, though, impressive stand-up game. Flows well on the feet. Strings his strikes together very well. And he is a finisher. You look at the regional wins, right? Knockout, 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 knockout. And then Reyes Cortez goes distance here. Nick Aguirre is 7-1. Nice record for him there. No shame in it. And, he's known for strangling dudes. He's got good submissions. Last fight, he lost to Dan Argueta by a decision, who's a real good grappler. Good wrestler, especially. Payton Talbot, I think he gets up to his feet well if he is put in bad positions on the ground. And I think he's going to smash Nick Aguirre on the feet. Knockout win. I'm going Talbot by KO. Now, for the level of these guys versus the actual odds, this is stupid. Payton Talbot is a minus 625 favorite. Nick Aguirre is a plus 450 dog. The reason Payton Talbot is such a big favorite is because of his impressive win on Dana White's Contender Series, so he has hype behind him. But this line is inflated. Opened up at minus 550. I'm calling the knockout win. I'm confident Talbot wins by KO. But you're telling me a minus 625? I don't like the over on this. A minus 625 money line? That's dumb. Minus 235. Minus 305. That makes sense. Minus 625. It's so wide. You can't even play it. I guess the bookies are daring you. Yo, you want to bet the dog? You think plus 450 is a shot? He's probably going to get killed? Or you got to throw heavy down to get the minus 625 Talbot line. I'm going to call Talbot by knockout. The knockout prop is probably going to be plus, not nothing actually. It's probably going to be minus 200 for a knockout prop. We'll see when they drop it. Nonetheless, Talbot, KO win, and I'm confident in it. He's going to chin Nick Aguirre in this fight. Next fight on the card, our featured bout of the night is Jordan Leavitt versus Chase Hooper. I'm picking Jordan Leavitt to win. And when I heard that Jordan Leavitt was a big underdog in this fight, I was initially surprised. Let me bring up the odds real quick. Plus 210 for Leavitt, Hooper at minus 250. It's like we keep giving Chase Hooper the hype. He gets a win, and then it's like, yup, he's gotten way better. He's going to pull it off. He's not going to lose. Like Steve Garcia, who killed him. He was a favorite going into that fight. Philippe Kolares W. Rest in peace, Philippe Kolares, before that. Steven Peterson, he got beaten up in that fight. He was expected to win. Peter Barrett, he ends up subbing, which is cool. Nick Fury beats by a decision. Jordan Leavitt's a good grappler. And he's coming off of a sick knockout with badass knees in the clinch over Victor Martinez. Before that, he lost to Patty the Batty. I mean, it's Patty the Batty. We don't even know how good Patty is. Like, we don't really know his level. The Tony Ferguson fight will help us a bit because he has that Jared Gordon controversial decision, and then Jared Gordon knocked out Mark Madsen. So it's like, all right, maybe Patty's actually pretty good. Trey Ogden split decision win, but Ogden's pretty solid. And then Matt Sales sub. Matt Sales undersized at lightweight. Claudio Puelles lost, another grappler. So grappler versus grappler here, it might turn into a bit of a striking fight, but like I'm not sold that Chase Hooper outstrikes Jordan Leavitt, especially after that last performance in knockout. Jordan Leavitt's nasty in that tie clinch, and he's aggressive. He takes a good shot. I think Jordan Leavitt's going to get the win over Chase Hooper. He might knock Chase Hooper out, but decision is making a lot of sense in my mind. I'm seeing some grappling exchanges between these two. I do think Hooper is going to look to take Leavitt down, and then I think he's going to be met with a lot of resistance by Leavitt in the grappling exchanges. Now, looking at the odds, like I said, wide as hell. It's plus 210 for the side of Jordan Leavitt as an underdog with what, minus 250 for Chase Hooper. Are you betting minus 250 Chase Hooper? I wouldn't. Leavitt plus 210 makes sense to consider because he's a good-sized dog, and I think that skill for skill, he's very live in this fight. Like, I'm just not sold in Chase Hooper at 24 because he's giving me reasons not to be sold on him, like the losses that we've seen from him. I'm going to go Jordan Leavitt for the W. I'm picking Monkey King. I wrote down no method of victory. I was going to just leave it up to how I feel live. I think decision, but like it'd be pretty sick if Jordan Leavitt got a knockout, and it's not impossible, but I might just be living by recency bias though, because Leavitt was able to knock out Victor Martinez last fight, right? Yeah, knocked out Victor Martinez. So he could do that to Chase Hooper inside. But I think Leavitt decision, hard fight, competitive. Both guys good grapplers. Hooper hangs on his opponents really well and, wears them down. And he's filling out his frame at 155 a lot better than at 45. And he's still young, 24. On the other side, Leavitt, very strong grappling. Pretty decent with the wrestling game, heavy on top. But he's tricky on the feet, too. His kicks are weird. His stand-up game is odd. I'll pick Jordan Leavitt in what should be a very awkward and weird fight between two very unique characters in the fight game here. Ben Askren's son versus Jordan Leavitt, who's just Jordan Leavitt. There's nobody like him. Next fight on the card is our co-main event. It's Jake Matthews versus Michael Morales. I'm going to pick Michael Morales to get a win here over Jake Matthews. I think his athleticism is a big factor. I think he's more powerful than Jake Matthews, and he has a big length advantage, 79-inch reach to 72. And Morales is pretty good from the outside. I also think he has an advantage inside, too, with the clinch. Even in the grappling, and he's the physically stronger guy. Jake Matthews does have some nice hooks, though. I like the way Jake Matthews rips punches, and I feel like you got to give Jake Matthews some respect. He's a decent fighter for sure. He's got solid boxing. He's pretty sleek on the feet. He moves pretty well. It's just, I think Morales is such a better athlete. He has the strength and power edge. He's got the good straight punches, as I mentioned. I have to pick Morales, man. I have to. Now, looking at the recent opponents, right? Michael Morales, Max Griffin win. That's a nice W to have. Griffin's solid. Adam Fugitt knockout. Fugit's a tough customer. Trevin Giles KO. Decent fighter. Nikolai Verdinikov. That was decision. That was contender series. Decent win, though. Verdinikov's an OV. So if you beat an OV, you're a savage on the ground. Then Diego Sanchez win here. Sean Brady lost. Andre Fiallo knockout. Fiallo's getting knocked out by everybody now. Matthew Semmelsberger lost. Doesn't age well. And then Darius Flowers win, but he got touched up in the first round. You know, I was thinking Michael Morales by decision, but something is whispering in my ear that he might get a knockout, man. I'm going knockout. I'm leaning the side of violence for this card. I'm saying KO win. KO win for Michael Morales. I think he chins Jake Matthews, but it wouldn't blow my mind if it went distance. Minus 258 for Morales, plus 218 for Matthews, and I'm seeing two props here. Over 1.5, minus 185. Under 1.5, plus 155. Under 2.5 is minus 140. I think Morales could knock out Matthews. And I got to remember too, Morales is only 24. So fight to fight improvement. When was the last fight? 3 months ago. Dude, he could be 15% better in 3 months. And he beat Max Griffin, who's good. I think he can knock Jake Matthews out. Might go distance though. It's not like Jake Matthews is chinny. So don't go bet the fucking farm on win by knockout by Michael Morales. But it's better than the money line because it's probably going to be plus 175 for a knockout prop. I'm picking Morales. I'm going to officially say KO, but just note I wrote down decision, so it's the hype of the moment maybe getting to me. Decision is very possible. Knockout or decision officially. Morales for the W. I think he beats Jake Matthews in prospect versus veteran battle, even though Matthews been in the UFC forever. He's only 29. I'm going with the young buck. I'm going Morales. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. I'm picking Paul Craig. You guys knew I was going to pick Paul Craig. Come on now. Brendan Allen, athletic, decent punching power. But I'm thinking of this. Okay, Volkan Oezdemir couldn't knock out Paul Craig. That was a tricky fight for him. Paul Craig submitted a real good fighter in Nikita Krylov a couple fights back. Yeah, Johnny Walker KO'd him, but would Johnny Walker not end majority of fighters on the planet? He would. And then Paul Craig last time ended up beating Andre Muniz. But the reason I'm picking Paul Craig is because I think he can take Brendan Allen's punches. And I think that when we get into the later stages of the fight, that's where Paul Craig is going to shine. Round 3 is where Paul Craig, I think in this fight specifically, most dangerous. And it's not that Allen has a low gas tank, but I think he's going to look to put it on Paul Craig with hard shots. And I can see Allen in half guard top position for a good amount of time. But I'm having a very hard time seeing Brendan Allen go the full 5. I'm also having a hard time seeing Brendan Allen finish Paul Craig. I feel like Paul Craig's going to finish him. I think Paul Craig's going to pull off an upset submission win. I know Brendan Allen is on an absolute tear, and I also know that he's a dangerous grappler. But don't tell me it's impossible. Jacob Malhoun was one of the toughest fights for Brendan Allen in a very long time. You look at this fight here against Jacob Malhoun a year and 3 months ago. Malhoun gave him trouble. Paul Craig is going to give him trouble in the grappling too. Submission threat is live. His size is a factor, being a former 205er. He's slightly larger than the side of Brendan Allen. I think the striking Allen is definitely faster, But I don't think he's going to go out there and just run over Paul Craig on the stand-up. And then if they go to the ground, I think Ailin, in the first round, most dangerous. If Craig is surviving that first round onslaught, as they slow down, it favors Craig. Craig by sub, round 3, round 4, makes a lot of sense. I'll officially call 3, but 3 and 4 are making sense to me. I think in the later stages of the fight is where Paul Craig shines. But hey, note that he's 8 years older. Note that percentage-wise, the younger fighter wins. And also note that I'm picking a big underdog in the main event. Plus 275, Paul Craig. Minus 325 for Brendan Allen. I do think we're going over 1.5 probably at minus 160. Especially in a 5-round main event. I'm going with plus 275 Paul Craig here, guys. I feel like Brendan Allen is way too wide of a favorite, too. Like Paul Craig's been around. It's like we're getting sold on, okay, Allen, oh, well, he knocked out Bruno or he strangled Bruno Silva after dropping him. Hey, Mearshart did that, okay? That was last fight. Andre Muniz. Paul Craig also beat Andre Muniz. He also finished him here. He ground and pounded him. I'll give respect to Allen for locking up the sub. But Muniz is breakable. Let's be honest here. Krzysztof Jotko, he takes steroids over in PFL now. Jacob Malhoun, like I said, damn competitive fight. Sam Alvey sub. It's Sam Alvey. That was at 205. Jamal Hill win. 5 fights ago, Paul Craig beat the UFC light heavyweight champion, and he can't beat Brendan Allen, and he's a plus 275 dog? Nah, I'm picking Paul Craig all day. Nikita Krylov sub, one of the best light heavyweights in the world too. Lost to Volkan Oezdemir, top tier contender. Lost to Johnny Walker, top tier contender. Beat Andre Muniz, decent contender at middleweight in his middleweight debut. Paul Craig might look better this time out at middleweight. I'm picking Paul Craig. I'm calling win by sub. I'm saying 3rd round submission and what's going to be a big upset. But a lot of people are going to say, why did I not just go dog? Why didn't I just not throw it on Paul Craig at plus 275? But you want to throw down on the young Brendan Allen, who's having a competitive fight with Jacob Malhoun? Not me. Not me when Paul Craig's got a win over the former UFC light heavyweight champ. Paul Craig for the W. I'm calling submission. He beats Brendan Allen, and I think Paul Craig's a pretty fun contender to watch at 185 pounds. That is the breakdown, the main event hot take, and I absolutely love it. On my birthday, I brought some extra heat for the people. Definitely smash the like button if you guys haven't. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to it. Keep it locked in. I got daily content dropping, so if this is your first time here, I got a ton of content, man. It's every day from this show to my Moneyline podcast Monday to my live stream on Tuesday to my this week's Best of My Maybet show Wednesday, Thursday, the late night live, Friday, the weigh-in recap show, and then Saturday with a full card fight companion. So it's a packed content schedule that you want to keep your eyes peeled on. So sub it up, turn the post notifications on. Don't leave them on personalized. Put them on all. I appreciate everybody for watching. Let me know what you thought of the picks in the comments down below. And if you have nothing to say in those comments, but you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. I appreciate you all tuning in. It's my birthday. I'm going to go celebrate. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.